live in a world of data, a world of big data. But do we? I actually hate the phrase that we live in a world of data. It's silly at best. Most of us live in a real, physical world, a world we perceive through our senses and not through algorithms and statistical calculations. Now, as an aspiring data scientist, I would prefer to live in a world of data, a world where data informs our decisions, but we don't. Not yet anyways. It's estimated that every day we create about 2.5 quintillion bytes of data, but we analyze less than 1% of that data. The data that makes up our digital identity is called big data. This big data is typically out of our reach. It's protected by gatekeepers and approval forms. By the time we get access to it, it's been analyzed, aggregated, and distilled into information. Sometimes this information is helpful. For instance, when you access Google Maps, you get real-time traffic information presented to you as green, orange, and yellow highlights layered over your route. There's no data crunching needed. The end product is exactly what you need to make a data-informed decision. But sometimes information we get is not helpful. For instance, data from biometric devices and wearable technology is often filtered through a predetermined visual display called a dashboard. On these dashboards, you may have some interactivity, such as the ability to change the scale from steps per hour to steps per day. But if you want to examine trends, test for significant differences, or visualize the data differently, you can't, because you don't actually have access to the data. In this instance, you are not getting the information you need to make a data-informed decision. Now, I do not live in a world of data. I'm fortunate enough to work and play in 3 amazing worlds of data. In each of these worlds, I'm helping to build a data-informed decision culture, but I'm doing so in very different ways. In the first world, I'm a researcher in a higher education institution. Data in this world is protected by federal, state, and local privacy laws. Access to the data is denied unless an individual in the organization can show a valid reason for accessing it, and even then, their access is very limited. In the second world of data, I'm a business intelligence consultant for a private company. Data in this world is protected by company policy and proprietary analytic techniques. Employees of the company only get to see data that directly affects their work. But in the third world of data, in the world I invite you to join me, I am a data junkie in a community of the sexiest people on earth, data scientists. A data scientist is a lot of things, but I like to think of them as a programmer, a researcher, a statistician, and an artist. In the first 2 worlds, higher education and business, data has primarily been entrusted to 3 privileged groups in the organization: the database administrators, the analysts, and the executives. The database administrators care and feed for the environment where the data lives. The analyst consumes the data and distills it into information, and the executives use that information to make decisions. The average individual in the company has little to no access to data. For them, access to data is often delayed, intermittent, or prioritized onto a list of things that will never get done. I want us, all of us, to do more with data. I want us to join the ranks of a data revolution hell-bent on one goal: to democratize data. In this data revolution, there are a lot of roles to play, but the 2 most important are the curators and the inquisitors. Now, the roles are not mutually exclusive, but the movement requires both. As a curator, if you have access to data, digitize it, share it. By that I mean put it into a data set that can be shared electronically with anyone and everyone. Do not let good data go to waste. That means sharing it on your website or using free services like Fusion Tables by Google. Fusion Tables is an experimental data visualization web application to gather, share, and visualize data. Now, as an inquisitor, your primary task is to seek out that open access data and interrogate it with fervor. Ask questions about the data. Let your curiosity run wild. Find out how the data was collected. Find out how it was coded. How was it analyzed? And then examine it for yourself. Find your own meaning and your own insight. Last fall, I created a meme of myself with a simple phrase, making you a data lover too. I truly believe that the average individual benefits from working and playing with data. The reason I believe this is rooted in a personal story. When I was 10 years old, something happened to me that shaped my life forever. I was in math class, and the teacher had just dismissed us to work on an exercise. Our task was simple: collect some data, record it as hash marks, and then translate the hash marks into a bar chart. Each hash mark was to be a colored square on a grid paper that would make up a bar chart. So as I was busy copying an example from the board, my 10-year-old colleague approached me to collect some data. She asked me a simple question: which of the following is my favorite cartoon character? There were 3 answers on her paper. Now, she had finished her poll before me and already collected data. I knew this because there was hash marks next to the choices on the paper. What I didn't know was, what were the choices? Now, I don't mean I'd never heard the cartoon characters before. What I mean is, I couldn't read the choices. The reason I was copying the example from the board was because at 10 years old, I didn't know how to read. And it's not that I couldn't, it's just that no one had taught me how to yet. Up until this point in my life, I had learned tricks to get me through situations just like this. In this situation, I went with option C. Option C had 4 hash marks next to it, more than any other option, so I thought it was safe. I couldn't be wrong if everyone else liked it too, right? Wrong. I quickly realized how wrong I was. My 10-year-old colleague burst into laughter and exclaimed, "You like Hello Kitty?" Now trust me, when I tell you, to a 10-year-old boy in the 90s, being laughed at by a girl in math class is the end of your world. I quickly tried to defend myself, but she recorded my answer as a hash mark and moved on. But that feeling of anxiety, fear, doubt, confusion, embarrassment has stayed with me, and it fuels my passion for making understanding data a reality for anyone who wants it. Too often I hear people say, "I'm not a math person," or I hear them say, "I'm not a stats person," and that's fine. In this data revolution of curators and inquisitors, you don't have to be to love data. All you need is curiosity. Together, we can build a data-informed decision culture. We can democratize data, but it starts by rejecting the notion that analyzed, aggregated information is the same thing as data, and it's not. Let's do more with data. Thank you.